She was 8 weeks pregnant when I caught her. The DNA test revealed a 0% chance it was mine. But that wasn't even the worst part. My wife had been planning to kidnap our kids to California with a boyfriend. So, I hired a PI. Hunting season was officially open. My name is Marcus Thorne. I'm 41 years old, and I manage procurement for a chain of hotels across 3 states. It's not glamorous work, but it pays well enough to keep my family comfortable. Or at least that's what I thought I was doing. Keeping my family together. The night everything unraveled started like any other. I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, comparing vendor contracts for our Phoenix properties. Liam was upstairs playing video games. I could hear the muffled explosions through the ceiling. Sophie was at her friend's house for a sleepover, and Claire, well, that was the million-dollar question. Working late again, she texted around 6 o'clock. No explanation, no estimated time home. Just those 3 words that had become her signature move over the past year. I closed my laptop and walked to the window. Her car wasn't in the driveway, hadn't been for 3 nights running. The marketing firm where she worked closed at 5:30. I knew because I'd driven past it last Tuesday at 7 o'clock and the parking lot was empty except for the security guard's truck. Vince had warned me months ago. We were having beers after a Veterans Day ceremony. He'd done 2 tours in Iraq with the Marines. And he looked me straight in the eye. Brother, he said, a woman who stops coming home isn't working late. She's working on her exit strategy. I'd laughed it off then. Vince didn't know Claire like I did. We'd built a life together, had 2 kids, shared 16 years of memories. Sure, things had gotten routine, maybe even boring, but that's what marriage was, right? You traded excitement for stability. The sound of footsteps on the porch made me look up, but they passed by. Just the neighbors coming home. I glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. Another late night at the office, apparently. I picked up my phone and scrolled through her text history. Her responses had gotten shorter over the months. Complete sentences had turned into single words. Love you. 2 had become, thanks. And lately, she'd stopped responding altogether. Something inside me shifted that night. Call it intuition or just delayed recognition of reality. But I knew things were about to change. The comfortable lie I'd been living was about to shatter, and part of me was almost relieved because living in denial takes more energy than facing the truth. And I was tired of pretending everything was fine when my wife couldn't even be bothered to come home anymore. The credit card statement changed everything. I found it stuffed between grocery store circulars and Saturday's mail, which was odd because Claire usually handled the bills online. But there it was, her personal Visa, the one she'd insisted on keeping separate for her own expenses. I almost tossed it aside, almost. But something made me tear open the envelope while standing in the driveway. The first charge that caught my eye wasn't the amount. It was the location. The Velvet Rose. I knew that place. Every guy in town knew that place. It was a wine bar on the expensive side of downtown where married people went when they didn't want to be seen by other married people. 3 charges in 2 weeks. Always 2 drinks. Always after 9 p.m. Always when she was supposedly working late. I walked inside and found Liam in the kitchen making a sandwich that violated every principle of structural engineering. Hey, Dad, he said through a mouthful of turkey. Mom called, said she's got another client dinner tonight on a Saturday. I kept my voice level. He shrugged. That's what she said. I went to my home office and locked the door. Then I did something I'd never done before. I logged into our cell phone account. The call logs loaded slowly like the universe was giving me one last chance to stay ignorant. But I needed to know. The number appeared 17 times in the last week. Area. Code 480 local. No name attached. Just digits. Calls at lunch. Texts after midnight. And one call that lasted 2 hours and 14 minutes at 11 p.m. on Tuesday, when she was supposedly in a budget meeting. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I felt oddly calm, like a man who just discovered the strange pain in his chest had a name and a treatment plan. The uncertainty was killing me more than any truth could. Vince picked up on the second ring. Marcus, everything all right? I need a favor, I said. That investigator you mentioned after your divorce. Is he still around? There was a pause. Yeah, he is. You sure about this? No, I admitted, but I'm tired of not being sure about anything. He gave me the number, added. Whatever you find out, remember it's not about what she did. It's about what you do next. That night, Claire came home at 11:15. Her hair was perfect, her makeup fresh, and she smelled like cologne that wasn't mine. She slipped into bed without a word, turning her back to me like she'd done for months. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the investigator's number burning in my phone. Tomorrow, I make the call. Tonight, I just needed to accept that my marriage had become a crime scene, and I was about to start collecting evidence. The private investigator's name was Milo Kovac, and he looked exactly like you'd expect. Worn leather jacket, 3 days stubble, eyes that had seen too much. We met at a diner off Highway 60, the kind of place where the coffee is terrible, but nobody asks questions. Let me guess, Milo said, sliding into the booth across from me. She's working late, going to the gym more, and guarding her phone like it contains state secrets. That obvious? He shrugged. I've been doing this 20 years. The patterns don't change, just the technology. He pulled out a tablet. I'll need basic information. Her routine, vehicle, places she frequents, for 100 a day, plus expenses. Most cases wrap up within a week. I slid him an envelope with her details and a cash retainer. There's something else. She's been going to the Velvet Rose. Multiple times. Milo's eyebrow twitched. That place isn't for casual drinks. I'll start there. 3 days later, at 2:17 a.m., my phone lit up. The message from Claire made my blood freeze. You don't control me. I sat up in the guest bedroom. I've been sleeping there since hiring Milo, claiming back problems. My fingers moved across the screen without hesitation. Then stop coming home like you're my wife. The typing bubbles appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again, then nothing. I set the phone down and went to make coffee. I was stirring in sugar when the call started. 1510. By the time I picked up the phone again, there were 35 calls and a string of texts ranging from fury to panic to negotiation. We need to talk. Don't ignore me. This is ridiculous. Please answer. Where are you? I'm coming home now, but I wasn't there. I was already at Vince's house drinking bourbon on his back porch while he cleaned his service rifle. A ritual that calmed him. She's spiraling, I said, showing him the call log. Vince chambered around, then ejected it. Nah, brother. She's realizing the safety net's gone. There's a difference. My phone bust. Milo, check your email. The photos were clear, time-stamped, undeniable. Claire and a man I recognized from her office. Evan Shaw, the new accounts director, his hand on her lower back. Her laughing at something he whispered. The two of them entering the Marriott downtown at 10:47 p.m. That's game over, Vince said quietly. No. I corrected, forwarding the photos to my lawyer. That's game on. The next morning, I found Claire in the kitchen, still in last night's clothes, eyes red. Liam and Sophie were eating cereal, uncomfortable with attention. Kids, I said calmly. Grab your bags. I'm driving you to school today. After they left, Claire tried to speak. I held up my hand. Nora Hayes, I said. That's my attorney. Her number's on the counter. Whatever you need to say it through her. The cease and desist letter arrived at Claire's office. The following Monday, I knew because she called me 17 times in 10 minutes. Each call going straight to voicemail. Nora had advised me to go dark. No contact, no responses, no emotional reactions that could be used against me. She's pregnant. Claire announced when she ambushed me in the parking lot of Liam's school. 8 weeks. I kept walking toward my car. Congratulations. I'm sure Evan's thrilled. Her face went pale. It's yours. It has to be yours. Has to be. I unlocked my car. That's not exactly convincing. I'll take a paternity test, she said desperately. I'll prove it. Great. Nora will arrange it. I got in and started the engine. She slammed her palm on my window. You can't just throw away 16 years. I lowered the window an inch. I didn't. You did. Every night at the Velvet Rose, every meeting at the Marriott, every lie about working late. Parents were starting to stare. Liam would hear about this tomorrow. But I was done protecting Claire from consequences. That evening, Vince brought over something interesting. My boy at the phone company pulled some records. Legally, of course. Public information from civil suits. He handed me a folder. Your wife's boyfriend. You got a history. 2 restraining orders from ex-girlfriends. 1 assault charge pleaded down to disturbing the peace. I studied the documents. Evan Shaw was a predator in a tailored suit. Nora needs to see this. Already sent her copies. Vince poured himself whiskey. But here's the kicker. He's married. Wife's a prosecutor in the DA's office. The next morning started with Claire trying to access her joint account. Declined. She tried the credit cards frozen. By noon, she was calling my sister or my mother, even my boss. Everyone had the same message. Talk to his lawyer. At 3:00 p.m., a process server walked into the Velvet Rose where Claire was having her usual afternoon wine. In front of Evan and half her office friends, she was served with divorce papers, a restraining order preventing her from entering my workplace, and a custody arrangement proposal that would make me primary guardian. Evan, I heard later, received his own package at home. His wife opened it. The photos Milo had taken, the phone records, the evidence of Miss Hughes' company funds for their little adventures. By 5 p.m., he was locked out his house and his office. Claire's text shifted from anger to desperation. You've destroyed my life. I finally responded once. No, I just documented it. That night, I made dinner for Liam and Sophie. Real dinner. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. We ate together for the first time in months. Is Mom coming home? Sophie asked quietly. Not tonight, sweetheart. But you'll see her this weekend. Liam looked up. Dad, thanks for cooking. It was a small thing, but after months of takeout and silence, it felt like victory. Nora Hayes didn't look like a pit bull in Prada, but that's exactly what she was. Former military JAG. She'd transitioned to family law with the same precision she'd used prosecuting court-martials. We sat in her office reviewing Milo's surveillance report while she took notes in shorthand. The pregnancy complicates things, she said, tapping her mom, Blanc, against the legal pad. But not insurmountably. We'll demand immediate paternity testing. If it's yours, we adjust custody accordingly. If it's not, she smiled like a shark, sending blood. Well, that simplifies everything. What about Evan's wife finding out? Already handled. I had lunch with Julia Shaw yesterday. Lovely woman, very motivated prosecutor. She's filing her own divorce and considering pressing charges for misuse of company resources. My phone buzzed. Claire again, this time from her mother's number. I declined and turned back to Nora. There's something else, I said, pulling out a folder Vince had given me. My kids found this in their mother's car. Inside were brochures for private schools in California, apartment listings in San Diego, and a draft email to her sister about starting fresh on the West Coast. Nora's eyes sharpened. She was planning to take the children without telling you. Looks that way. Perfect. Judges really frown on parental kidnapping plots. She made more notes. I'll file an emergency custody order today. She won't be able to take them out of state without court approval. That afternoon, I picked up Liam and Sophie from school. They've been staying with me since Claire moved to her mother's, and the routine was finally settling. Homework, dinner, actual conversations instead of the silence we'd lived in for months. Dad, Sophie said over spaghetti. Grandma Diane keeps calling. She says Mom's sick. Your mom's going through a difficult time, I said carefully. But she's not sick. Liam snorted. She's sick. All right. Sick of being married. Liam, what? It's true. Alex's mom saw her at that wine place with some guy. Everyone knows. I sit down my fork. What people know or think they know doesn't matter. What matters is that your mother and I both love you. Even if we can't love each other anymore. Later, Vince came by with updates. Evan got fired today. Turns out he'd been billing client dinners that were really dates with your wife. Company's pressing charges for fraud. Claire must be thrilled. Oh, it gets better. His wife cleaned out their accounts before filing. He's broke, jobless, and living in his car. Your wife picked a real winner. My phone lit up with another call from Claire's mother. This time, I answered. Marcus, you need to stop this vendetta. Diane started immediately. Claire made a mistake. People make mistakes. Diane, she made choices for months. Documented choices. And now she's facing consequences. She's pregnant, so she claims. We'll know for sure in 2 weeks when the test results come back. You're destroying my daughter. No, Diane. I'm protecting my children. There's a difference. I hung up and found Liam standing in the doorway. Dad, is Mom really pregnant? The hard questions never come when you're ready for them. She says she is. We're going to find out for sure soon. He nodded slowly. If she is, does that mean you'll get back together? No, son. Some things can't be fixed with a baby. But no matter what, you and Sophie are my priority always. He hugged me then. This 14-year-old who'd been trying so hard to be strong. And for the first time in months, I felt like maybe we'd all survive this. The paternity test appointment was scheduled for Thursday. At 2 p.m., Claire showed up looking like she'd raided a maternity catalog. Flowing dress, hand on her still flat stomach, the picture of wounded motherhood. The performance might have worked 6 months ago. Now just looked desperate. Mr. Thorne, the technician said, we'll need a blood sample from you and a prenatal sample from Mrs. Thorne. Results typically take 7 to 10 business days. Claire grabbed my arm as we left. Marcus, please. We could work this out for the baby. Whose baby? I asked quietly. Her face crumbled. I don't know, she whispered. I honestly don't know. It was the first truthful thing she'd said in months. That weekend was Liam's first basketball game of the season. I sat in the bleachers with Sophie, cheering as he sank a three-pointer. Normal dad stuff, normal life. Then I spotted Claire across the gym, Evan beside her. The audacity of it made my blood boil. Vince appeared at my elbow. Easy, brother. Your kids are watching. He was right. I focused on the game, on Liam's smile when he scored again, on Sophie explaining the team statistics she'd been tracking. My family, my priority. After the game, Liam jogged over sweaty and grinning. He saw his mother approaching and his smile dimmed. Can we go, Dad? Liam, honey, Claire called out. Great game. He looked at her, then at Evan, then back at me. Thanks, he said flatly, then louder. Dad, I'm hungry. Can we hit that burger place? We left without looking back. In the car, Sophie reached over and squeezed my hand. You okay, Dad? Yes, sweetheart. I'm good. And I was because my kids had chosen their side without being asked, without being manipulated. They'd seen the truth and made their own decisions. Tuesday brought news from multiple fronts. Nora called first. Julia Shaw filed criminal charges against Evan. Embezzlement and fraud. He's looking at serious time. Then Milo thought you should know your wife's been apartment hunting. Downgrading significantly. Seems her boyfriend's legal troubles have affected her housing budget. Finally, Vince, my cousin works at the courthouse. Word is Claire's lawyer is pushing for a quick settlement. Seems she wants this over before more comes out. That evening, I sat on the back deck, the same spot where this all started months ago. No cigarette this time, just coffee and clarity. The investigator's folder sat closed on the table. I didn't need to look at it anymore. The evidence had served its purpose. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Preliminary hearing scheduled for Monday. Be ready. I was ready. Ready for court. Ready for whatever the paternity test revealed. Ready for the next chapter. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to someone who wronged you. It's what you become without them. Inside, I heard Liam helping Sophie with homework. Normal sounds. Normal life. The life we build from here would be different. Maybe harder in some ways. But we'll be honest. It would be ours, and that was worth more than 16 years of lies. The paternity results arrived on a Tuesday, delivered by courier to Nora's office. She called me immediately. Can you come in? We need to discuss this in person. I found Vince in his garage working on his truck. Need backup always. We drove in silence, both understanding that whatever was in that envelope would change everything. Nora met us in the conference room, the sealed results on the table between us. Before we open this, she said, I need you to understand the implications. If the child is yours, custody becomes complex. If it's not, open it, I said. She slid the paper across. The words jumped out. Probability of paternity 0%. Vince whistled low. Well, that simplifies things, but it didn't. Not really. Because somewhere out there was a child who'd done nothing wrong, who'd be born into a mess created by adults who should have known better. Evan, I asked. Most likely, though, we need his DNA to confirm. Nora made notes. This strengthens our position significantly. She'll have to drop any claim for spousal support, and the custody arrangement for Liam and Sophie becomes much cleaner. That evening, I sat Liam and Sophie down. They deserved honesty. Age appropriate, but real. The test came back, I said simply. The baby isn't mine. Liam's jaw tightened. So, she lied again. She might not have known for sure. I offered, trying to be fair, despite everything. Stop defending her, Dad, Sophie said quietly. She knew what she was doing. Later, my phone rang. Claire, hysterical. You told them. You told our children. I told them the truth. Something you might try sometime. I made mistakes, Marcus. But I loved you. No, I cut her off. Love doesn't sneak around. Love doesn't lie for months. Love doesn't try to pass off another man's baby as mine. What you felt was comfortable. I was your safety net while you played on the trapeze. What am I supposed to do now? She sobbed. Evan won't answer my calls. His wife is destroying him. I'm pregnant and alone. You're pregnant with consequences, I said. And being alone might teach you what you have before. You threw it away. Vince was still there when I hung up, bourbon in hand. Harsh, brother, honest. There's a difference. We sat on the back porch watching the sunset. The same porch where this all started, where I'd made the choice to stop accepting the unacceptable. You know what the funny thing is? I said, if she just asked for a divorce a year ago, we could have split amicably, shared custody, fair division, maybe even stayed for the kid's sake. But then she wouldn't have had the thrill. Vince observed. Some people need drama like others need air. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Evan's wife, Julia. We need to talk about our mutual problem. I showed Vince. He grinned. Now that's about to get interesting. Everything. Okay, Dad. Liam appeared in the doorway. Basketball under his arm. Yes, son. Want to shoot some hoops? We played until dark. Just a father and son finding normal in the chaos. And for those moments with Liam's laughter echoing off the garage door, everything really was okay. Julia Shaw looked nothing like I'd expected, where Claire was all artificial charm and calculated moves. Julia was sharp edges and brutal honesty. We met at Nora's office, a power summit of the betrayed. Let's skip the pleasantries, Julia began, sliding a folder across the table. Evan's been having affairs for years. Your wife is just the latest, but she's the one who got careless. Nora reviewed the documents. This is comprehensive. I'm a prosecutor. I build cases. Julia turned to me. He's drained our accounts to fund his lifestyle. Expensive dinners, weekend getaways, gifts. All while I was working 60-hour weeks thinking we were building a future. Sounds familiar. I said, here's what I propose. Julia continued. Joint strategy. We share information, coordinate legal moves. Evan's trying to claim poverty to avoid both alimony and child support for your wife, but I found hidden accounts. Offshore, nothing that exotic, just accounts under his mother's name. About 40,000. Vince leaned forward. Can you prove he has access? Julia smiled coldly. I have video of him using the ATM card. Timestamped. Location verified. We spent 2 hours building strategy. Julia had resources I didn't, connections in law enforcement, forensic accountants, even a contact at Evan's bank. What she didn't have was the surveillance Milo had gathered. The photos that showed not just the affair, but Evan's pattern of behavior. There's something else, I said, pulling out my phone. Claire kept a journal on her laptop. She thought she deleted it, but I glanced at Nora. Let's just say it was recovered. She details everything. The affair, the pregnancy scare 2 months ago that turned out false. Even her plan to divorce me after securing a promotion at work. 2 months ago, Julia calculated quickly. That's when Evan told me he wanted to try for a baby. The room went silent as that sank in. The layers of deception were staggering. That weekend, I took the kids to the cabin upstate. We needed distance from the drama, space to breathe. The place had been in my family for generations. Rustic, but comfortable. No Wi-Fi, no cable, just woods and water and quiet. This is nice, Sophie said, helping me start fire. Mom always complained about the bugs. Your mom's more of a hotel person, I said diplomatically. Was that why you two stopped coming here together? Liam asked, bringing in firewood. Kids notice everything. Partly people change, grow in different directions sometimes, or they were always going in that direction and just hit it better. Liam said, we made sores, told ghost stories, did all the things families do when they're trying to remember what family means. And for a weekend, we found it again. Not the family we'd been, but the family we were becoming. Sunday night driving home, Sophie asked. Dad, are we going to be poor now with the divorce and everything? No, sweetheart. I've been planning for this. We'll have to adjust some things, but we'll be fine. Good, she said, because I really want to go to space camp this summer. Space camp it is. I promised. In the rearview mirror, I caught Liam smiling. He understood what I was really promising. That life would go on, that dreams still mattered, that their mother's choices wouldn't limit their futures. My phone had 17 calls when we got home. All from Claire. I deleted them unheard and helped the kids unpack. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more legal maneuvering, more consequences of choices made in the dark. But tonight, we were just us, and that was enough. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. No dramatic galleries, no tense atmosphere, just a tired judge, 2 sets of lawyers, and the end of a marriage that had started with such hope 16 years ago. Claire looked different. The pregnancy was showing now 5 months along, and the designer clothes have been replaced with simple maternity wear. Evan was nowhere to be seen. Fled to Arizona, according to Julia, leaving bills and broken promises in his wake. All parties agree to the terms. Judge Alastair asked, reviewing the settlement. Yes, Your Honor, we said in unison, the last thing we'd ever agree on. With a few signatures and a bang of the gavel, it was over. Claire stood to leave, then turned back. Marcus, for what it's worth, I'm sorry, not just for getting caught, for all of it. I studied her face, looking for the manipulation, the angle, but there was just exhaustion and something that might have been genuine regret. Take care of yourself, I said. And the baby. She nodded and left, her mother waiting in the hallway with tissues and recriminations. Nora walked me out. That went smoother than most. How do you feel? Like I just finished a marathon. I never wanted to run. In the parking lot, Vince waited by his truck. Liam and Sophie with him. They'd insisted on being there. Not in the courtroom, but close enough to matter. Is it done? Sophie asked. It's done. Liam hugged me quick and fierce. Good. Can we go get pizza now? And just like that, life moved forward. 2 weeks later, I met Julia for coffee. She'd finalized her own divorce, taken Evan for everything the law allowed. But there was no triumph in her eyes. Just the same exhaustion I felt. What now? She asked. Now we rebuild. Focus on our kids. Try to remember who we were before we became the people they betrayed. I'm leaving the prosecutor's office, she said suddenly. Private practice, white-collar defense. Ironic, right? Fresh starts all around. She smiled. The first genuine one I'd seen. Would you like to have dinner sometime? Not a date, she added quickly. Just 2 people who understand what it's like to rebuild. I'd like that, I said, meaning it. That evening, I stood in my backyard watching Liam practice free throws while Sophie timed him. Normal kids doing normal things. The affairs, the investigation, the bitter divorce. It would all fade in a background noise eventually. But this, my children laughing as Liam missed spectacularly. This was real. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number that turned out to be Vince's cousin. Saw your ex at the grocery store. Looked rough. That boyfriend really did leave her high and dry, huh? I deleted it without responding. Claire's struggles weren't my concern anymore. My energy belonged to the future, not the past. Dad, Sophie called. Liam says he can make 20 free throws in a row. I bet him kitchen duty for a week. He can't want it. I jogged over grabbing the ball. You're on. But when he loses, you both do dishes. Their groans echoed across the yard, and I smiled. This was my life now. Simpler, quieter, but infinitely more honest. And that was more than enough. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Nora Hayes and David Chin cordially invite you. I smiled, remembering how she'd sworn off marriage after her first husband died in Afghanistan. But David was different. A pediatric surgeon who understood loss and second chances. You're going, right? Liam asked, reading over my shoulder. He was 15 now, taller than me, voice cracking between boy and man. Wouldn't miss it. She saved our lives. Can we come? Sophie chimed in, looking up from her homework. Already RSVP'd for 3. Life had found its rhythm. Breakfast together, work, dinner, homework, help bed, weekends at Liam's games, or Sophie's science competitions. Simple, stable, good. Claire had moved to Portland with her daughter. Yes, Evan's daughter confirmed by court-ordered testing when he tried to deny paternity from Arizona. She sent pictures occasionally, trying to maintain some connection with Liam and Sophie. They responded politely, but distantly, the way you'd interact with a cousin you rarely saw. The doorbell rang. Julia Shaw stood on my porch holding a bottle of wine and wearing jeans instead of her usual Powers suit. "Still on for dinner?" she asked. "We've been doing this for months now. Weekly. Dinners, sometimes with her kids, sometimes mine, sometimes just us. Not dating exactly. Just two people who understood that trust was earned slowly and broken quickly." "Spaghetti night," I said, stepping aside. "Fair warning, Sophie's making garlic bread, and she believes more is always better." Julia laughed. "Sounds perfect." In the kitchen, controlled chaos reigned. Liam stirring sauce, Sophie buttering enough bread to feed an army. Me trying to keep pasta from boiling over. Julia jumped in without asking, grating Parmesan and stealing taste of sauce. "This is nice," she said quietly while the kids argued about music choices. "Yeah," I agreed. It is after dinner while the kids cleaned up a firm rule in the Thorne house. Julia and I sat on the back porch with coffee. "I have something to tell you." She said I've been off for a partnership at Grant and Sterling. "That's incredible." "Julia, you deserve this. It means longer hours initially, less time for." She gestured vaguely between us. "We're not in a rush." I said, "Take the partnership. Build your career. We'll still be here." She studied me. "You mean that?" "I've learned to say what I mean. Saves time." Liam appeared in the doorway. "Dad, Sophie won't admit I won the dishes bet fair and square." "Did you actually make 20 free throws?" "Well, 19, but the last one was really close." Julia laughed. A sound that had become familiar in my house. "Sounds like you both do dishes." "She's a lawyer." I reminded him. "Don't argue technicalities with lawyers." As Liam trudged back inside, muttering about unfair advantages, Julia stood to leave. "Same time next week?" she asked. "Wouldn't miss it." Watching her drive away, I felt something I hadn't in years. Not love, too early for that. Not desire, too complicated for now. Just possibility. The idea that maybe eventually when we were both ready, there might be something worth building together. But tonight, I had dishes to help with and kids to tuck in, even if they insisted they were too old for it. I had a life that made sense, a future that belonged to me, and peace that couldn't be shaken by someone else's choices. The boy who believed in forever was gone. In his place stood a man who understood that sometimes the best endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings.